everybody. I'm Miriam Picó. Welcome to my picnic at the opera. How you doing? Good. So you braved the cold to come be with us today. I'm boycotting. I wore a spring shirt just because I wanted to. Today's show will be benefiting Building Bridges with Music with the program's executive director, Karen McCrary. We will also be hanging out with my friend David Chown on the keys. Guys, give it up for him, please. And we will be featuring our poet, Michael Delp. Let's put our hands together for him, too. Thank you. But before all that, I'd like to welcome Courtney Hanley, a former National Cherry Queen. Come on out here, Court.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
Braving the winter weather, everyone. I didn't get the memo on to wear something springy. This is how I feel on the inside.
Last minute choice.
Anyways, we're going to have a great show today. We're going to have an artist named Bill Allen here who's going to share with us some of his sculpture and art and tell us all about how he loves living in northern Michigan.
Nice.
What kind of musical appetizer do you have for us today?
Well, we have a little song. We're going to stick with a jazz theme today. We have Jeff Haas. So this is a song that I wrote on the side of the road in Indiana, and it's actually become the theme song for this show. It's called Spend a Little Time with Me.
All right, have fun. Take it away, you two.
Thank you, Courtney. Guys, let's have a big round of applause for her. You'll see her again soon. David Chown, everybody, come on. Oh, I'm jumping out of my skin 'cause I get to see you again. Oh, tell me how lucky can I be to see you spend a little time with me. I'm jumping out of my skin 'cause I get to see you again. Oh, tell me how lucky can I be to see you spend a little time with me. You're going to spend a little time with me. You're going to spend a little time with me. You're going our special musical guest today. He's an extremely talented and renowned jazz musician and the host of National Public Radio's The New Jazz Archive. Please put your hands together for the amazing Jeff Haas. All right. There he is. Welcome. On the saxophone, we also have the fabulous and beautiful Miss Lori Sears. On upright bass, the incredible Andy Evans. And on the drums, the very talented Dave Collini. All right. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're going to do for us today?
We're going to play some original music of mine. The first tune is called Get It Right. Ooh. And it was written originally to honor the 2008 presidential election. Ooh. So it was a hopeful tune. Get it right.
Very good. Take it away.
We'd like to continue with a tune called Tsurus. That's a Yiddish word. Anyone familiar with that term? Tsurus. It's sort of a Yiddish word for angst or trouble or worry, right? So it's something that I used to hear in my household as a kid, usually with a wag of a finger. Don't give me any tsurus about that. Tsurus.
Jeff Haas Quartet, everybody.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
nice.
Lori Sears, Andy Evans, David Collini. Thank you.
And they'll be joining us again later in the show, but right now I want to sit down with Jeff Haas and ask you some questions. You want to sit up here?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. How are you?
I'm good.
How was
Good.
last night? You had a big night last night at the State Theater.
It was
Wanna
a
tell us little
beautiful
about that?
night. Beautiful night. We had the MLK Remembrance Day event last night at the State Theater, and it was just a gorgeous event.
It was.
Community involvement in every way. We had 4 students from West Senior High School Drama Department reading excerpts from Martin Luther King speeches.
Yep.
The children's choir opened up for us. The Kingsley High School concert choir, Andy Evans' choir, sang a set for us, and then the Brazil Denard Chorale from Detroit.
They were amazing.
Weren't they? One of the oldest African-American spiritual choirs in the country, specializing in preserving Negro spirituals and sharing them with audiences worldwide. And they were amazing. An entire set of vocal music a cappella,
Yeah.
without any accompaniment, and just a rousing,
Powerful.
powerful set.
Well,
It
good
was
job.
beautiful.
Now you can breathe a little bit better. I know that was a big deal.
It was a big deal that involved a lot of organizations.
Right.
Building
A lot of
Bridges was
coordinating.
the lead organization, along with the State Theater and the TC Human Rights Commission.
Yep.
It was made possible through a grant from DTE Energy Foundation and Dennis Museum Center. And there was a full house, and we just had a wonderful, wonderful evening trying to preserve and promote Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy, which is, the high school students who did the readings last night were really taken with the fact that the words are so fresh and relevant to their lives. And that spoke loudly to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. It was great. Especially at the end, they wrapped it up with the quote with all the different religions talking about the fight between good and evil and just how we're all so similar. Thank you very much for doing that.
Well, it's near and dear to my heart. I grew up with Martin Luther King. My parents are German-Jewish immigrants. Civil rights and human rights was a topic at our dinner table each and every night. We watched, we gathered around the television to watch MLK speeches. We all really took those words to heart. So.
And I know your dad was an amazing pianist. He was really adamant that you guys learned the classical piano. Now, this is not that. Was this pretty scandalous growing up in your family?
Absolutely. Adamant wouldn't be the right word.
What would be the right word? Can you say it on TV?
Well, let me summarize it by quoting my dad. At one point, I brought home, I think it was a Beatles album or something like that, and he said, rock and roll would ruin the needle on our stereo. And furthermore, the first jazz I ever heard was a Thelonious Monk, John Coltrane Live at the 5-Spot album, which I found hidden.
It was your sister's.
It was my sister's, and I found it hidden under her mattress.
Oh.
And I would add, I wasn't looking for, jazz records under her mattress. But
Enough said. How has being... did your dad... When did he come around?
He came around on a personal level in terms of supporting me. My dad taught me so much about music, and so much of what I know and believe in from a musical standpoint, from a moral standpoint, from an ethical standpoint, came from my father and his mentorship. He started teaching me classical music at age 5, and had high hopes, for me to be a classical pianist. And part of that was his own experience. He was born and raised in Germany, was a synagogue organist as a teenager, dealt with the whole experience of the Holocaust as best he could, immigrated to Detroit, and he was studying with one of the Beethoven scholars of the 20th century at the time, Arthur Schnabel, and his studies were interrupted because he could no longer travel, could no longer practice, wore an armband with a yellow Star of David to, make sure that everybody knew he was Jewish. And so I think, a lot of that encouragement that he sent my way was to sort of fulfill both of our dreams. But he never really came around from a musical standpoint, and I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I got him an Oscar Peterson trio album back in the LP days, and I thought, well, what a great bridge Oscar Peterson would be. Oscar Peterson and Vladimir Horowitz and Arthur Rubinstein and Leonard Bernstein were all friends. They all went to one another's concerts. I shared that with my dad, and he said, okay, I'll check it out. About 15 years later, I went to help him move from one residence to another, and I was packing up his recordings, and there was the Oscar Peterson album still sealed.
Oh.
But he came to my gigs. He loved coming up here to Chateau Chantal. He came to gigs in Ann Arbor and Detroit. And he was proud of the work that I had done, particularly compositionally. But, I remember when I came upon that Oscar Peterson album, Still Sealed, I asked him, Dad, what's up with this? This music's important to me. Why don't you check it out? He put his arm around me, looked into my eyes and said, Jeff, if I spend the rest of my life studying classical music, I still won't get to everything that I want to learn. And how can you fault that kind of dedication?
Wow, yep.
So I have applied the same to jazz.
Very good.
Though I have an 11-year-old, so I can tell you all about Adele and
Sophie, how's Sophie doing?
Sophie's doing great. She's. I heard her at 6:30 this morning in her bedroom going, "Yes!" So I knew it was a snow day.
Oh, that's great. Well, how can people hear some of these recordings? Because you've won some awards for your stuff. How can people buy your music?
Well, you can buy my original recordings on Amazon and CD Baby, or at my website, jeffhaasmusic.com. We have a group that's based from throughout the state that we call the Building Bridges with Music Quintet. Marion Hayden on bass.
Which you're going to tell us more about later.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sean Dobbins on drums, and Laurie Sears on saxophone, Chris Lawrence on trumpet. And we have just finished a new recording, which hopefully will be out this spring, of all original music, the music that's sort of come to age through our work in the schools.
Nice.
But we also perform up here with some regularity, as well as elsewhere in the state. We'll be at the Old Mission Peninsula Library on February the 13th.
Okay.
And on February 15th, we're doing a concert at our Building Bridges performance space on 14th Street.
The Circuit.
The Circuit.
Is it still called that?
It is.
Okay, great. Well, be sure to catch Jeff Haas live and look for his recordings. I know in the summer times you're at Chateau Chantal, and it's wonderful.
And this summer is our 20th anniversary out there.
Oh, my gosh. Well, we're going to do a song that I've done with you out there. So should we invite everybody out?
Sure, sounds great.
Okay, we're going to do a little song called Someone to Watch Over Me. Come on out, everyone. And this is a song that I initially did with David Chown, and we won an award for this song. And when one of those summers when I was going to do a song with him at Chateau Chantal, he said, which one would you like to do? And I said, I love this one. He said, me too. So we're going to do it for you today. Someone to Watch Over Me.
There's a somebody I'm longing to see. I hope that he turns out to be someone who'll watch over me. Over me, 'cause I'm a little lamb who's lost in the wood. I know I could always be good to one who'll watch over me. Oh, although he may not be the man some girls as handsome, baby, to my heart he carries the key. So won't you tell him please to put on some speed, follow my lead. Oh, how I need someone to watch over me. To watch over me. Please.
Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you so much. We'll be right back after a short break. One more time for the Jeff Haas Quartet. All right. All right, everyone. Now we have our wonderful poet, Michael Delp. He's a writer, an author, a poet, and of such books such as his most recent is called As If We Were Prey. He also received several awards for his teaching creative writing at the Interlochen Arts Academy. So please put your hands together and welcome Michael Delp.
Thank you. Thank you. How many of you have ever been at a picnic when it's 4 degrees? So now you can say you've been to a picnic when it's 4 degrees. So I brought 2 poems today, one to kind of get into the mood of ice, and the other one, oddly enough, is about swimming, but they're both river poems. So the first one is a poem called The River Inside. Weeks go by, then months, the river iced over. There's no particular place to walk, and each trail to the river is covered again by the time I walk back to the house. Each night before I go to bed, I walk to the edge of where I think the bank and the river come together. I lie down with my ear pressed against the ice, listening. This deep vein of water rises north of me, comes down through cedar swamps and meadows, the clear gravel riffles near Grayling. I think to myself on this 10 below night that there isn't a voice down there, only echo. I'm tempted to tell myself I hear things in the current, or sense in the slow rising of bubbles trapped against ice that I recognize the message. But there is no message, no voice here in the night coming from the belly of the river. This is the kind of night when anchor ice is born, when the river stiffens. Weeks from now, when the spring rains come, what's left will sweep the river clean, the ice cutting through deadfall, moving rocks for miles downriver. In August, if you're lucky, you can bend down into a pool and find a piece of river shale marked and cut, a kind of sign language left as a reminder that there is no time, no day or week, no month, no full moon, no new moon, only the slow, constant motion of water and ice, the heave of seasons, the river's long life only getting longer. And this is a poem about swimming in the river. Don't clap yet. Thank you. At the end of winter, I can go out on my deck on Green Lake, and I can smell the Gulf of Mexico in the air, so I know it's coming. So this takes you to July. It's not always going to be like this. Swimming the sky. In the river underwater, I look up through the hazy film of July water into a tree-mottled dome so blue it seems impossible. I hang from the submerged trunk of an ancient cedar, floating, flying really in this liquid sky. Above me crows troll the air, thinking I must look like them, hair feathered, my body cupping the wind of the current. If water is a god, then the air is a goddess. My mouth bubbles my words behind me. I praise this kind of holy flight as the day slides away from me, then becomes one more long, meandering prayer. Thank you. Stay warm. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. That was great. Thank you. All right, that was wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, from Building Bridges with Music, I'm pleased to welcome Karen McCrary and Jeff Haas. Come on down. You both want to share that microphone now?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Karen, what do you do with the organization?
Well, I am the executive director of Building Bridges with Music.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
What is the main mission of the organization?
Well, our mission is really to promote the importance of tolerance and acceptance and being open-minded. We do that. The Building Bridges with Music workshops feature the Jeff Haas Quartet, which is a nationally renowned group of musicians from all over the state that represent different cultures and backgrounds and religions. And we take that music into schools and other community venues and use music as a springboard to talk about these various topics. So it's Jeff's original music, which is a really great blend of jazz, R&B, and ethnic music. And again, we use that as the springboard for discussion. The members of the quintet also will share their compelling stories about how prejudice and disrespect have affected their own lives. And music is really the vehicle that allows people to open up their hearts and minds to hear the message.
Great. And Jeff, what has been your best experience with the organization so far?
Oh, that's a hard one. Well, the organization started as sort of I was looking for an opportunity to rehearse music in the Detroit area that I had written by commission for an event down in Detroit. And so we began rehearsing in the schools. And some of those early rehearsals and the early evolution of our workshops and our work, talking very interactively with students of all ages and people in the community about the importance of being open-minded about people who are different than we are. Those are some really remarkable moments in our history, but we've been in almost 600 schools in front of 50,000 kids since 1995. And honestly, we've had some of the most heightened musical moments in the most unlikely of places, in cafeterias in the inner city, in gymnasiums in Sheboygan. And the program started with some fantastic musicians out of Detroit, Marcus Belgrave on trumpet, George Benson on saxophone, Chuck Hall on bass, and Alex Trajano on drums. And the next rendition of the Building Bridges Quintet started about 6 or 7 years ago, and that is with Sean Dobbins, Marion Hayden, Laurie Sears, and Chris Lawrence. And we just have opportunity to talk with students of all ages about some very intense and telling issues, issues that really speak to the future of our communities in terms of how we treat one another and the level of respect that we offer one another. And so some of the questions from students have been high points over the years. Inevitably, especially the younger students, the words that they choose to use are a reflection of the attitudes and politics of their homes and their communities. And it's just it's really interesting to see these kids change those attitudes and rethink those attitudes as a result of, first, the music, which engages them on a real sort of emotional level. And we play a lot of, as Karen said, music that's sort of a mashup of jazz and classical and R&B and ethnic music, so it's danceable music. We get the kids up dancing. We do some freeze dancing. But we share some very intimate and personal stories. Our drummer talks about falling in love with a woman from Syria. Our drummer's African American. And he shares with the kids that her parents disowned her when they decided to get married. And they got married without her parents there, and they had their first 2 kids without their parents there. And it was their 3rd kid, who was born when their oldest kid was 7 years old. At that point, her parents showed up at the hospital in tears and said, "We seek forgiveness. We want to be a part of this family."
Wow.
And for the older kids, I share my family history. I lost a number of my ancestors, including my grandparents, in the Holocaust. And I'll never forget, we were in a school in Detroit, and a 5th grader raised his hand and he said, "Well, were your grandparents in the Army?" And I said, "No." "Well, did they drop a bomb on your grandparents' house?" This kid couldn't believe that we could perpetrate that kind of tragic circumstance on one another as humankind, as people.
Unthinkable.
Yep, it is.
Well, what you're doing is so important. Karen, I heard that you brought a 3-minute video.
Yes, we did. It shows Jeff in action a little bit and
Nice.
gives you an idea of what we're all about.
Well, thank you so much for coming. Guys, let's put
Thank
our hands
you.
together for these 2. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome to Building Bridges with Music, the brainchild of a musician and composer with a social work background who decided to use music as the foundation for an engaging and entertaining program about diversity that addresses the root causes of bullying.
The K through 2, the workshop is more of a sort of a feel-good kind of experience where we focus on the golden rule. 3 through 5, we're able to get into the essence of the situation, the essence of the problem, and talk about some pretty deep issues, like prejudice and its effect. Sean talks about his family experience. I talk about my family experience. 3rd through 5th grade seems to be a time when the kids' minds are still open to the problems and accepting of the solution. So what Martin Luther King said was, and listen to this is really cool, and it's really simple, and it's really important. He said that every word we utter, every word we say, every thought we have, every action we take is either based in love or fear. Love or fear. Everything we do is either based in love or fear. So the man who shot Martin Luther King, was that based in love or fear? Fear. And when somebody bullies somebody on the playground, is that based in love or fear? And when someone makes fun of you on the playground, is that based in love or fear? Fear. It's pretty simple, isn't it?
Children don't have a chance to get to experience this in such a personal way many times. I think a program like this can be real important in terms of bringing it to them in the form of music, something that they really enjoy, something that makes them real bubbly and happy. And then also it comes in the form of the personal stories that we tell during our programming that really helps them to bring it home to them in a personal kind of a way. And I think that what we do is real important and very different. It's a unique way to speak with children about this.
Your world gets bigger when you're open-minded about music. Well, guess what? If you're open-minded about people, your world will get even bigger. Because there's all different kinds of people in the world, right? There's people with different colored skins, there's people who practice different religions, there's people who learn differently than we do, there's people who get around differently than we do. There's all sorts of different kinds of people. And just like with music, if you're closed-minded, you're shutting yourself off from new experiences, new friends, new friendships and relationships, and your world gets smaller. But if you're open to meeting different kinds of people, your world gets bigger. Your world is full of new friendships and new experiences and new people. And when you think about it, that sounds good, makes sense, doesn't it? But practicing that sometimes can be challenging.
Over the past 18 years, Building Bridges with Music has taken Jeff's music and our anti-bullying message to more than 50,000 students in over 600 schools. We remain passionate about sharing our message of acceptance, understanding, and respect in the schools, the workplace, and the greater community.
And my heart beats so that I can hardly speak. And I seem to find the happiness that I see when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek. Heaven, I'm in heaven, and the cares that hung around me through the week seem to vanish like a gambler's lucky streak when we're out together dancing cheek to cheek. Oh, I'd love to go out fishing in an ocean or a creek, but it would not thrill me half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. And I'd love to climb a mountain and to reach the highest peak, but it would not thrill me even half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Won't you come and dance with me? I want my arms about you. The charms about you will carry me through to heaven. I'm in heaven, and my heart beats so that I can hardly speak. And I seem to find the happiness I see. Oh, when we're out together, dancing cheek to cheek. Whoa. Put your hands together for David Chown. Oh, I'd love to go out fishing in an ocean or a creek, but it would not thrill me half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. And I'd love to climb a mountain and to reach the highest peak, but it wouldn't thrill me half as much as dancing cheek to cheek. Won't you come and dance with me? I want my arms about you. The charms about you will carry me through to heaven. I'm in heaven, baby, and the cares that hung around me through the week, they seem to vanish like a gambler's lucky history when we're out together. When we're out together. When we're out together dancing cheek to cheek.
Thank you very much. One more time, David Chown. All right. Thank you. All right, at this time, I would like to welcome my lovely co-host, Miss Courtney Hanley. Take it away.
Thank you, Miriam. You guys sounded great. Well, I have a very special guest with me today, Bill Allen, a wonderful, local, and very talented artist. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you. So why don't you just give us a little introduction about who you are?
Well, I grew up in South Bend, Indiana. I felt like at the very earliest childhood, I knew that I had an ability to work with my hands and do something creative that way. Although I didn't pursue that academically, science and pre-med was my goal. That did work out. And, okay. So here I am 30 years later.
All right, awesome. So you brought with us some really interesting pieces, and I've noticed that they're very different.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the materials that you work with?
Well, I've worked in welded metal for many years. About 35 years ago, I took a class in welding with the intention of doing blacksmithing. Mm-hmm. But I immediately started playing with it and making small animal sculptures and started selling those at art fairs. And so that's like the rooster here mm-hmm. would be an example of the evolution of that. And then I have other pieces that are in a whole different realm, such as this one over here, which is a mixed media piece that has a steel structure inside and then the wood and the bones attached to it. And a piece like this, which I call them mixed media paintings, and there's a number of materials in this one, even though it's two-dimensional. There's ink and sand and paper and some liquid copper and acrylic paint.
That's wonderful. It's so interesting to look at up close. So how do you decide what materials you're going to work with? Like you said, liquid copper and sand. Mm-hmm. What was your motivation to use those materials in this piece?
Well, the liquid copper, for instance, is a material that I've used in the metal sculptures, the animal sculptures, for a long, long time. And I pretty much just kind of use stuff that's around. It's not, there's no, and for instance, the piece behind you has found material. I walk along the beach over Port Oneida quite a mm-hmm. bit, Port Oneida, and gather pieces of wood, and there are a lot of bones in that, and I just kind of grab what's around with this kind of stuff.
It's beautiful. So speaking of your more lifelike sculptures like the rooster that's behind you, I imagine you don't have a rooster as a model in your studio. So how do you, I mean, it's lifelike size and everything. How do you do that?
I've done a number of roosters as well as many other creatures. This kind of work is how I've been earning my living for quite a few years now, and I've evolved a style and about maybe 30 creatures that I do. When one piece sells, I'll just make another one. So some of these things I can almost do in my sleep.
That's incredible.
So then as a result of getting kind of tired with that tedium and that monotony of doing something over and over again, I've evolved this other work, which I consider to be more of an expression of myself and, mm-hmm. and more truly my artwork.
Do you have a favorite creature to make?
I've always loved reptiles, so I would say maybe iguanas and giraffes. I've done a lot of those. I love giraffes very much.
Oh, wow.
But reptiles, I think.
Do you do those life size as well?
Some of them. In the past, I've done some very large pieces, life-size Komodo dragons, life-size alligator. In fact, the Dennis Museum has an alligator that's a life-size piece, a welded steel. But those, my back can't handle those anymore.
I bet. So where can people go and view your art if they're interested?
The animal sculptures can be seen at the Main Street Gallery in Leland, and the Beer Gallery near Charlevoix.
Okay.
And pieces like this can be seen at the Sleepy Bear Gallery in Empire, although they're closed now for the winter.
Okay. And you do commission pieces as well, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, awesome. And you have a website, wmallensculpture.com, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So if you're interested in any of Bill's work, go ahead and check that out. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you and get to know some of your artwork. And we look forward to seeing you sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back, folks, after a quick promotional message. Thanks, don't go away.
Thank you so much. We have one more song that we're going to do for you. I get to sing with these guys. It's a little song called Moon Dance.
Stars up above in your eyes, a fantabulous night to make romance, neath the cover of October skies, and all the leaves on the trees are falling to the sounds of the breezes that blow, and I'm trying to please to the calling of your heartstrings that play soft and low, and all the night's magic seems to whisper and hush, and all the soft moonlight seems to shine in your blush. So can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love? And can I just make some more romance with you, my love? Oh, I want to make love to you tonight. I can't wait till the morning is come, and I know that the time is just right, and straight into my arms you will run. And when you come, my heart will be waiting to make sure that you're never alone. There and then all my dreams will come true, dear. There and then I will make you my own. And every time I touch you, you just tremble inside. And I know how much you want me that you can't hide. So can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love? And can I just make some more romance with you, my love? Oh. love in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make a romance neath the cover of October skies. And all the leaves on the trees are falling to the sounds of the breezes that blow. And I'm trying to please to the calling of your heartstrings that play softly. All the night's magic seems to whisper and hush, and all the soft moonlight seems to shine in your blush. So can I just have one more moon dance with you, my love? And can I just make some more romance with you, my love? One more moon dance with you in the moonlight on a magic night. Ooh la 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 in the moonlight on a magic night. Can I just have one more moon dance with you? With you, my love, my love.
Thank you. Great job, everybody. Thank you.
One,